IEP. Yep. And then whenever you're leaving active employment, you've got 8 months to get onto A or B. Okay. A and B, yeah. A or B. The thing about Medicare is you don't have to take Medicare. Nobody makes you take Medicare. Most people want to because it's a pretty good deal. You could take part of Medicare. You could take all of Medicare. You could take none of Medicare if you want to. Now, if you were qualified to take Medicare and you postpone taking Medicare, then you could have late enrollment penalties. And that's what I was concerned about, is that he gets beyond that window, the 8-month window, and he starts incurring late enrollment penalties. For Part B, it's 10% per year for every year that you postpone getting on to Medicare that you could have been on Medicare.
I thought it was the rest of your life.
Well, it follows you for the rest of your life.
Right.
Here's where we usually see this. Are either of you prior military?
No.
Okay. A lot of times we see this with military guys. They turn 65 and they say, I'm pretty healthy and I've got VA benefits. I don't want to pay $175 a month. And so they just blow it off. Well, 3 years down the road, they're having a conversation with one of their buddies and they're complaining about the VA. And their buddy says, well, why don't you just get on to Medicare like I have? And they're like, well, I didn't want to pay $175 a month to be on Medicare. But you don't like what the VA is doing for you. Why don't you get on to Medicare? It's really a pretty good deal. So I get a call from the veteran that says, I'd like to get on to Medicare now. And I say, fine. It's $174.70 a month plus 30% in penalties, 10% for each year that you delayed, and that 30% is for life. It's not like you just pay it once and get caught up. It's going to follow you for life. And as that $174.70 goes up over time, so does that 30%. 30% of whatever it is. 15 years from now, this is $300. We'll just make up some numbers. 30% on top of that. The other form of late enrollment penalty is around your Part D plan, your prescription drug plans. That's calculated differently. And that's 1% per month for each month that you could have been enrolled, that you were enrolled. So, let's say, I'll give you a way of explaining that. I had a gentleman from Florida, I live in Texas, and a gentleman from Florida was visiting, and he was asking me about what I do. I said, well, I help people with Medicare. Oh, well, I'm 66 years old. I got on the Medicare last year. And he's telling me all about it. And I never heard him bring up prescription drugs. And I finally said, well, what are you doing about your Part D coverage? Oh, well, I've got a couple of generics that I take, and I'm pretty healthy, I just get my stuff with GoodRx. And I said, well, we love GoodRx. GoodRx is great, but it's not what they call creditable coverage. It's not a substitute for Part D. And I said, while you're 66 years old, you're only taking those cheap generics, but when you're 76 years old, the doctor might prescribe to you something that's more expensive, and you'd like to have Part D coverage at that point. Well, you could get on it then, but you're going to have late enrollment penalties for all that time that you delayed getting onto it.
What's the enrollment period for D?
When you first get on to Medicare during your initial enrollment period. When you're retiring, you get a special enrollment period. That's what he's going to be working with a special enrollment period for leaving active employment. And then you can get on it during an annual election period. So during any of these periods, you can get on to a Part D plan. And you're not going to have to be too concerned about it if you end up going with an Advantage plan, because you're going to get an Advantage plan that has Part D bundled into it. Right. So let's say this guy, he's having this conversation with me. He had his birthday in November of last year.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just wait? Okay, let's say you didn't initially take D during your IEP period.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're older and now you want to take
Mm-hmm.
D.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't you just wait till open enrollment to do it and not catch the penalty?
No, you're still going to have the penalty. In fact, that's what this guy was running into. Was his birthday was in November. He turned 65. Go to around the calendar. He's 66, so that's 12 months. And then we're all the way out till the spring of the next year. We're almost like 18 months around the calendar by the time he's having this conversation with me. And I said, he went back to Florida. It kind of blew me off. And didn't hear from him for a couple of weeks. And I get a call from him. And I guess he asked somebody because he said, hey, you remember that Part D penalty we were talking about? Can you tell me that again? And so I explained it to him again. He said, well, what do I have to do to get onto a Part D plan? I said, well, I'll find you one. So I found him a Part D plan. And he said, okay, well, I'd like to get onto a Part D plan. I said, well, that's fine, but I can't get you on until the annual election period in the fall. So even though we're having the conversation in the spring, I can't get you on until AEP.
The regular open enrollment
Yeah.
period.
And guess what? Anything that we do during that period is going to take effect on January the 1st.
Right.
So he's going to be 25 months around.
But are you still penalized if you wait for AEP?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. 'Cause you don't get credit for wanting to get on it. You have to be on it, and it has to take effect. So he'll be 25 months around the calendar, which means a 25% penalty. And guess what? It's 25% for life.
So the 25% doesn't kick in until January,
Right.
and it's calculated retroactively.
Well, it's calculated from there forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll just keep paying 25%. It's the mean cost of these Part D plans nationwide. So there's
They're
a.
not doing any
it's
extra
still expensive.
forms, they're not inputting
Nope.
any extra data, but it costs you more.
Yep.
It's just such a shame.
Yep. Yep. So the moral of that story is
Don't be late.
don't be late. If you're going to get on it, if you choose not to get on it, that's fine. You don't have to get on it. The Medicare police are not going to come get you.
No, I know. You don't have to get on any of it if you don't want to.
Right.